Hey guys, this is Angel Garza, superstar from WWE NXT, and I just want to let you know that in this podcast that is called Awkward Side Hug, they're gonna start having wrestling content. So follow them, start listening to this podcast, and I recommend it to you. And remember, el latino está en la casa, baby.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Brian Andrew. I'm here with Kwency Jones.
What's
This is
going
a
on?
this is a collaboration project I think we're
Yeah,
working on. The Awkward Side Hug with the Kwency Jones Show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I know we were talking about this for a while, and Rumble just seemed like the perfect time, man. So I'm
It's
glad
my
we
favorite
finally.
pay-per-view of the year.
I honestly, it's the best way to start the year.
Yeah.
I will say, as a fan of the pay per view, I was kind of like kept kind of scratching my head a little bit because I'm like, dude, why does this feel like the build feels so underwhelming this year? It felt like I wasn't as excited as I usually am. Yeah, if that
Mm.
makes sense, because I think maybe the whole like I mean, obviously you watch Rumble for the Rumble and all the surprises attached to it, but like the fact that it was like Brock and he's like number one, I'm like, great. So the Rumble match has a storyline attached to it. I'm like,
Right.
all right, we'll see how this goes. But I mean, obviously there's some good, some bad. You know, that's why we're here to talk about it, man.
Right.
So
Absolutely. So it's interesting because I really enjoyed the Rumble and I was excited going into it, but if especially us both growing up in Southern California, we had
oh,
a
okay.
very heartbreaking morning. And I
Yeah,
don't know if you
man.
want to speak on it.
I mean, yeah, Laura briefly, man, it just sucked because like I woke up, like I had work last night. I'm like, man, I just got to get through this last shift, and I'm like, tomorrow is smooth sailing, Royal Rumble. You know, I'm gonna waste a bunch of time before the kickoff, just watch a bunch of old school Rumble. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I was already like my mindset was into it, and then like yeah, I got the news, and I was like, first I'm not knowledgeable about the whole him being a pilot and helicopter stuff. I had no idea about that, so I was like, oh yeah, and Andy Adam Sandler dies in a ski trip every year. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Right.
okay, whatever. You know, just and Big Show, he dies every year too. Apparently, if you leave it up to social media, but
Right.
yeah, no, sad news, dude. Like when I actually had to like watch the news and like honestly, like it sounds weird, but it reminded me of a lot of like Eddie Guerrero, like just the feeling I
Right.
got because someone who loved Eddie Guerrero was the one that told me about that, and I'm like, all right, dude, shut up, come off it, like
Hmm.
just pulling my leg, like why would you tell me that? And then I had to kind of like same thing, look at the news, look at the pretty much whatever's going on social media, and like pretty much crush, like wow, this I don't know, man. It was pretty horrible news, and I think everybody. I mean, you see how many people were affected by it today,
Right.
man. People that are not even like LA fans or even Kobe fans that were like so much like outpouring of love. It just obviously very unfortunate, and it did have a sort of a black cloud on the day. But um, I was trying to stay positive about it. I mean, again, I know a lot of people were affected. I mean, I know I talked to you about it earlier just because I was like, dude, like I didn't know if anyone had heard yet. I didn't know how late
Right.
I was about it, and I'm like, dang, dude, like this, like 2020, what's up, man? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Serious.
I don't know, it's crazy. I mean, the Rocky Johnson, and then we got Kobe, and it's just like, what a terrible way, man. It's just it's real again, just real unfortunate, bro.
Right. I'm just like you. I have to like double check like 30
Yeah,
times on
we're in
different
that age, right, where
sources.
we have to because people just like to make like clickbait, and it's just like, all right, man.
And once I found out for sure, like, cause I grew up a Clippers fan, so like
Hey,
I didn't like
hey,
Kobe growing
nice
up.
to meet you, sir. Because yeah, we're few and far between.
Yeah.
We're the minority in LA. Yeah,
And so I grew up kind of like rooting against Kobe, but at the same time, like you respected Kobe because he was the best,
yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
you got kind of tired of him always beating your team and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, that part, yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then finding out what his daughter was on the helicopter and the
Yeah, man.
parents of
And then there
other.
was so many like there was a lot of information coming in, so it's like it was one thing 1 hour, and then the next hour it was like a whole nother thing. And I mean, there was even a rumor that Rick Fox was on there too, but I guess that got debunked. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, just condolences to everybody, not just Kobe's family, but obviously the other seven passengers on the flight. Because I mean, it's just so early in the year too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it was a real damper on things.
And
Um,
and I'll be honest, like it took me a little bit because the news still kept coming in as the Rumble
yeah,
was beginning to start, or at least the
yeah,
pre-show.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that I don't know if, did you watch the pre-show?
I didn't. I actually. I ended up watching at a friend's house. I didn't get there till I think the it was the match before the women's Royal Rumble.
It was just Roman versus Corbin,
Okay, I
right?
came on the tail end of that. So yeah, I didn't. I heard that it was like Shorty G and like Sheamus. And
Yeah, you didn't
and
miss
I
anything.
think Andrade and Humberto.
And
But
that was a solid match, but you
oh,
didn't
okay,
in
okay.
terms of story or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I was like when I came to the house, everybody was like, "Yeah, dude, they already been trying to pay homage, and there's still stuff going on." I'm like, oh, man, like, yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it's hard because you don't want to be selfish and like, no, it's all about Rumble today. It's just like
Right.
it was one we never saw it coming. You know what I mean? And that's it. And then I think the thing that kills it is like for everybody is a lot of different people. Again, if you hated him or not, if you saw him in person, he was always like cool dude. Like some people have
Hmm.
a lot of like good stories of like, oh, I saw him at Disneyland. Or, I was a bartender at this spot and I like actually served him. He was chill. Like, I mean, I when I used to work at the Honda Center, he would come by like for the March Madness games. He would come by just like low key, but he was respectful to everybody. So it's like again, you could hate who he is on the court, but off the court, he was, stand-up guy. Regardless of people want to bring up, it's pretty ridiculous. Everyone's bringing up the Colorado thing now of all time. So it's like, but,
Yeah.
overall, dude, like it's when you touch so many people like that. Same with like Nipsey Hussle, man. You know what I mean? A lot of people, it was almost like they lost a family member, man. A friend of mine right now, shout out to Dev, man. He's broken right now, man. Unfortunately, he's a huge Kobe fan. I called my buddy Mark McFly, who does a show with us. That's his roommate, is Devin, huge Kobe fan. And I was like, dude, how's Dev? And he's like, crazy enough, he's still asleep. He doesn't even know yet. And I'm like,
Oh
oh
man.
man, yeah. So like he had to go like call his close friends over, kind of like surrounded with good energy, but also break the news. And then like I just got like a solemn like single text later, like, yeah, he's really broken up about it. I was like, I'd imagine, you know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, unfortunately, like again, stuff like this, obviously, it's gonna happen. But we just never see it coming, man. That was. I mean, again, whether you were a fan of sports or I mean, everyone knew who Kobe was outside of basketball. Even if you weren't a basketball fan, you knew who Kobe was. So it was just a major loss. Just a major loss, man.
Absolutely. So I guess we should get into this Rumble.
Yeah, man. Let's pick
Uh,
it up on a higher note. Let's go.
did you what did you want to happen before you watched the Rumble? Because we didn't
Okay,
talk about
so
predictions before we really got into it, so I'm kind of curious.
so like when I was thinking about I had like two picks who I wanted to win, and then I had like picks of who I wanted to see come back or like surprise
Hmm.
entrances, and then I had like a little bit of like moments I thought would be cool. Which is usually that's pretty much the whole thing of a Rumble match. I was right. I thought that it was Drew's year. I was thinking Drew
Hmm.
McIntyre would probably be a strong one. I didn't think he'd win it, but I was thinking definitely Final Four, which he was. I was thinking Roman because I mean, outside of teaming with Undertaker last year for that one-off, like he hasn't really done anything since
Yeah.
coming back. He's just, and then obviously the Survivor Series match, but dog food with freaking like Baron Corbin almost every
Well,
other.
that's how I felt too, because I kind of had that feeling where I was like, they have to stop the Corbin stuff, and the easiest way to
Yeah,
do a fresh start is just let Roman win the Rumble.
and I was actually surprised that they even booked him for another match at the Rumble. I'm like thinking,
Right.
dude, like I thought this was done. Like, and to be totally honest, I haven't been exactly following up on SmackDown as much as I used to ever since it's been
It's
on
so
Fridays.
hard. It's on the weekend.
It
Like,
really, and I work Fridays, so it's like I work Friday nights and then I work early Saturday morning. So by the time I get off work, I'm like, oh yeah, I
I'm one
forgot.
of those people too, where like if I can't watch SmackDown by the time the pay-per-view or Raw happens,
Oh
you
yeah,
just give up. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna
yeah.
watch.
Like I mean that's how I feel about like NXT UK. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't remember when it's on, but like when they have the shows, I'm like, oh okay, cool. I gotta catch this next time, and I'm just
Hmm.
back in the win. I don't even remember it,
I'm the
but
type of guy when it comes to NXT UK too, is like maybe if I know there's a takeover UK coming, I might watch the go home show.
yeah, yeah, just to get a little taste of what's to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's like for this in particular, it was a little bit weird just because like all we knew was like Brock. It's all about Brock starting at number one. So the only other like predictions I had where I thought would be nice would be like maybe Cena coming back
Mm-hmm.
to as a surprise to eliminate Brock. Maybe they have a match at Mania, which I would have been fine with. He's been gone long enough where I would, it's fine. Cena, I'm talking about, even though Brock's more aloof than most these days. But and the other thing I had was I thought it would have been cool if like Taker came back. They were in Houston.
Right. That makes sense.
I thought that it would have been cool, even though it probably would have been unpopular, but have him come back number 27, 28, 29, whatever. He wins the Rumble, goes on to challenge Bray, the Fiend. So they have that Fiend match, Fiend versus Undertaker, Universal title versus career. Finally give him his ride off into the sunset for Mania. And I mean, again, given, obviously like Fiend the rub for, the new face of Fear, as they tried a couple years ago, even though he buried him. So
we had those reports too that I guess this is the first time in a long time that they didn't really have anything planned for Mania except for maybe one or two things. And I actually going into this Rumble, I was like, that might be a good thing this year because
yeah, that's true. Because like most of that stuff gets out early, where fans they're like, man, they already sour on the idea by the time like the pay-per-view comes, and then when it actually goes to fruition, they're like shitting on it by the time it happens. I was like a little like I was thinking, man, usually they plant the seeds, or we get a little report of what's going to happen for Mania a little bit, maybe like early December. But yeah, they've been real hush hush about it. So.
And the only thing I really heard too was possibly like Roman versus Fiend, which
really?
they'll possibly do.
The only one I heard, which I was thinking the wrestling gods was not true, was supposedly Cain Velasquez was supposed to come back.
Or Tyson Fury.
Yeah. Oh yeah, or Tyson Fury against Brock for the title at Mania. I'm like, are you serious, dude? Like,
that would be so boring.
That dude, like, I mean, and I try to catch the Saudi shows, but like. I heard Tyson did well. I didn't watch the match.
He was super stiff, and Braun had a hard time carrying the match.
Okay.
But it's
he's not a wrestler. Yeah.
Yeah. So my expectations were low, and they stayed there. But it wasn't like I was super mad when the match was over.
Like Lawrence Taylor and
yeah, it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the only other prediction I had was I was like, maybe Edge is gonna come, maybe not. And I was like, maybe Edge's music hits and it's Christian.
I had a super open mind going into this Rumble. The only thing I kind of wanted to happen is I didn't want necessarily Roman to win.
Yeah.
Because even though like we all maybe have a different perception of him since the leukemia thing, if we're all just being honest.
Yeah.
It's we've seen it though. He made it into like the last 4 or 5 Royal Rumbles. I mean, WrestleMania. So it's kind of like we've seen it before. We want something new.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I get it. Like the only other story I had for the Roman thing, I was like, it would make sense just because he's gonna finally go after the belt he never lost instead of dealing with Corbin this whole time. I don't know why he's like dealing with Corbin when he's like, yo, I should be back in the Universal title picture since I had to give it up because of leukemia instead of anyone beating me for it. You know what I mean? So, but I totally get what you mean because it's like the playoffs right now. You know what I mean? People are gonna say what they want, but have their opinions about the Patriots. But dude, we've seen that movie like 5 times already. You know what I mean? Like the last 5 years or whatever you want to call it. So it's like it's the fact that it's 2 brand new teams. Same thing with this. It's like we getting a fresh batch of guys. And honestly, what I enjoyed about the fact that they started showing some of the lineup for the spots in the Rumble were, you weren't getting the Lucha House Party guys, you weren't getting Heath Slater. I mean, one could argue like, oh, Shelton Benjamin's whatever, but it played into the story, But like everyone that was actually in the Rumble had a pretty legit spot, you know what I mean? Where who knows, maybe somebody will knock out Brock or at least win a thing. So that I definitely enjoyed. Because there's been too many years where you're like, oh, okay, this guy's coming out. He's obviously not gonna last, or he's going jumping like Santino. He's like walking in just to get thrown out. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's kind of how I felt too. Because going into the Rumble, they announced like 27 spots in the men's Rumble match, and I was looking at some of those people, and I'm like, that doesn't leave a lot of room for NXT.
Any surprise. Well, one thing I did hear is. Right before the Rumble started, they did something where like they pretty much took away like they took Lashley and Rusev out.
Right.
So then those two extra spots.
Which is interesting because when I watched the Rumble, I thought a really good spot would have been Lashley and Brock.
That's what I was thinking too. But at the same time, I was thinking like, especially with the quote that like Lashley just had about like, I'm doing all this stuff just because, like he pretty much confirmed that he only came back for that money match with Brock, and basically whatever they're asking him to do, regardless of how ridiculous it is, like that's just what he's gonna do to get that match. And I'm like, yeah, that's how they dangle the carrot like that all the time, bro. You know, so
you see,
but I just figured it seems like they're not done with this whole Rusev thing. So I was like, I don't know if they're even gonna go that route for that kind of moment. If he wasn't doing anything that was considered like the hottest angle on Raw right now, I'm pretty sure they probably would have like, planted some seeds. But yeah, I mean, I thought that would have been cool. I had a feeling that if Edge was in it, we could have seen him and Randy, which was a cool little moment. I was surprised that we didn't get Miz and Morrison in there together at the same time.
Well, yeah, even with the New Day, like just for storyline reasons,
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where when I looked, I was like, wait, why is R-Truth in there again after he announced he wasn't going to be in it? You know what I mean? He said he was going to be in it when he thought it was Paul Heyman, and then he's like, oh, no, never mind, I'm good. And then all of a sudden I see he has a spot in there. But, I mean, he didn't end up being in it. So, it was – I don't know. It was like I said, I feel like they had a real solid, like, crop of guys. So anything could happen. I haven't been watching so much of SmackDown to know, like, all right, who's doing something, who's not, you know what I mean? Who has a shot at actually winning? Who already has a storyline going?
I say we break down the other matches.
Yeah, sure. I was just gonna ask.
And then we go right into the Rumbles because I think we really want to get deep. We want to dig deep there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll be honest, you showed up late. I was doing homework. I really wasn't watching Roman versus Corbin either.
Oh man.
So I'm pretty sure people are in that crowd not watching that match either.
Dude, like there was a few matches where I was like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a whole lot of matches on the card I was excited about, obviously outside the Rumble, but like I was excited for Becky and Asuka. Right. And but I felt like even the reaction that match wasn't, it wasn't really there. Right. And I don't think I can't think of another match that was on there I was interested to see what was going to happen with Bayley and Lacey, just because I was hoping that Sasha was going to be in the Women's Rumble. But
do you think is she injured? Did you read anything about that?
I haven't read anything about that. No, it was really, I don't know. There was I felt like there was some other women that could have got in there, but for some reason they like Kelly, like, you know what I mean? And I hate to jump ahead, but
no, you're good.
But I'm trying to think. One of the matches I did catch was the first full match I caught with the Women's Royal Rumble, and then after that it was, I'm literally.
I think it was Bayley versus Lacey.
Yeah, you're right. It was Bayley versus Lacey.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was zoning in and out of that match. I was doing other things. I was on my phone.
I caught that match. The finish was super weird to me because all she did was like miss a splash. Like she did that double jump moonsault, and then she landed on like Bayley's knees. And then Bayley just like rolled her up. What looked like she was trying to like pull the tights, but it was like kind of a weak sell on pulling the tights. And so it was just weird. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest Lacey fan as a face at all. She belongs to be like that. She's a heel by nature.
The whole thing has been really weird. And I'll be honest, like I'll fall victim into that feeling of there's only a few stars. Yeah. And it's really difficult to break that ceiling in the women's division right now. I agree. And so, like, when someone tries to kind of break that ceiling, I get a little like, no, you're not one of the good ones.
Because it comes off like a little obvious. You're like, I see what you're doing, but it's not you.
And the funny thing is, like, I get sick of the matchups, but if they just rotated the 4 horsewomen with maybe 1 or 2 other people, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, no, I think that's what they suffer from is like they pair, like they keep Becky and Charlotte always on the same show, and like Bayley and Sasha. Like, yeah, switch it up. I mean, because if you got them, like, because for a while they had Charlotte and Becky, tag teaming against the Kabuki Warriors. I'm like, dude, they spent like a lot of last year like tearing each other apart and beefing with each other. So this just seems, I get, enemy my enemy, is my ally, but it's like, all right, whatever. You know what I
So yeah,
mean?
SmackDown's gonna really struggle, and I think like
Yeah, man.
you could maybe survive the Mania season if you decide to pull the trigger on Sasha versus Bailey.
That, and I was thinking that that's like possibly where they were like, I was like, okay, maybe Sasha wins it, and they finally pull the trigger on that. And I'm like, because all she's been doing since she came back is what, being her hype man pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
and just like, yeah, you know, just in the background. I'm like, but how are you the blueprint? You ain't got, you know, you don't have any gold. You're not even going for the title that's blue. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
match your hair. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just,
It's so
so I figured,
weird.
I'm like, there has to be a split at some point. You know what I mean? Or I mean, whether that meant like Bailey goes back to being face, which I don't see with that hair. And I mean, kudos to Bailey because she's been making the heel character work for her, but hasn't been doing her in her favors trying to be a heel against like Lacey, who people are not really behind. You know what I mean?
Right. She gets
I
that.
think every time by bringing her daughter to ringside, and you could even do when her daughter was at ringside, you could see her daughter like laughing at her while she was getting beat up.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's
so,
weird
yeah,
because like you get that random like marine pop,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like it's like that's all it is.
And,
It's
and that's it's weird because like I guess she plays that southern, you know, debutante, like, you know, you know, the ugly thing, like the uglies and all that. That she does that well. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just weird. I remember going to an NXT house show in Florida, and this is before she hit the NXT TV, and she was like one of the people there, and she was walking in front of I was second row. She was telling everybody to shut up, and like she
mm-hmm.
was living the gimmick. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
it's weird, I guess, for me to like sit here and like, okay, so you're a face now, but why should I get, you know, behind you when you were like calling everybody nasties and uglies and
Mm-hmm.
basically
The
turning your
really
nose
good
up at
smooth
everybody.
transition to that.
Yeah, you know,
Like if
so
she made a save that's helped somebody or something, we would have been like, "Oh, it looks like she's transition." But it just
yeah,
happened to be
it's
like she got
yeah,
drafted to SmackDown, and she's like, now she's a face.
it's like, oh, like we bring up her kid. Okay, now, oh, we brought up her kid, so now she's a face. Like, yeah,
Mm,
it's so yeah, as it wasn't really organic at all. It was, I mean, and to be honest, they probably could have had her going against more like someone like Naomi, which probably would
mm.
have been way better. Who she hasn't been hurt, she just been, you know, away from the ring, obviously, probably having to serve out that penitentiary sentence with the Usos, you know,
Well,
but
if you think about it too, like even though you kind of switch the roles and you've already done it this year, see,
yeah,
these are things like to me, it's like there's a difference between unwatchable WWE and intolerable WWE,
yeah, yeah,
and so like tolerable WWE, even though I feel like I've already seen this and I would get sick of it probably by the second week, is we believe Alexa Bliss is a champion
yeah,
caliber wrestler,
true.
and she's a face now. Bailey's a heel now. When they used to do it, it was Bliss was the heel, Bailey.
Yeah, very true.
So
Yeah,
you
that actually, yeah, that would have been actually a
that's
better time.
that's at least a
This
good
time
month
around,
feud. That's a good Royal Rumble match.
honestly, yeah, because when you think about the last time they ran it with the places, the roles switched, it kind of made Bailey look weak because, you know, she at the Extreme Rules she wouldn't even pick up a weapon, and
Mm-hmm.
this could have been a way where they could have restored a little bit more of you know, that thread and Bailey in this new like mean streak of hers, and then you got, you know, seeing how yeah, Alexa would fare with this new face. And
Sasha and Cross could go at it a
I was
little
gonna
bit.
say you got Nikki by your side now, so she'd be able to, like, you know, keep the distractions at bay at ringside. So yeah, that would have been great. I mean, I would just something fresh because I feel like it's been Lacey and Bailey for like what the last like maybe month and a half,
And the
and
thing is, I think for that SmackDown Women's title, I know this is gonna sound. It's just like people could lose interest really fast, and I think
I
if you
agree.
do it month by month instead of like,
Like
oh,
long
we want to
term,
do Lacey at the Rumble, so it started in December. Like, I don't
yeah.
want to do that. Like,
No, because it's not, especially if there's nothing for the fans to really invest in. Again, I mean, we're over here talking about how we couldn't really buy into it, so it's like
mhm.
I know it didn't take them a whole month and a half to realize, oh, this is a bad idea. You know what I mean?
And you
So
could easily switch it up. Like you could,
yeah, I mean, they could have done other things to help add more you know, levels to it, some layers to it. But
because Lacey
other
and
than
Sasha were
yeah,
also feuding, and you could
yeah, I
just
was
throw
gonna
them
say
both in the
first.
Rumble.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like it was weird that it was Sasha doing all most of the talking, and then but then it's like Bailey that's like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean, beefing with her right
I
now.
think there's an injury somewhere in there.
Possibly. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they kept like her. I don't want to say disappearance, but you know, the day last time she left, they kept super duper hush hush too, even though
Mm.
she just took a sabbatical or whatever she wants to call it. But
Because she's a lot of star power for that Rumble for her not to be in it.
I mean, because you know, again, they had like Kelly in it, and it bothered me because I'm like, dude, you're not a wrestler. Like,
Hmm.
no matter, you're a model now. That's what you do, and that's
Hmm.
fine. But like, the more like just because you throw on your old outfit and you do a super non-believable tilt-a-whirl head scissors, it doesn't make you a wrestler. Like nobody was cheering for you. I mean, it was cool to see you, but like nobody was looking for you to win. You know what I mean? Where it's like
Yeah.
that spot could have easily went to Sasha. Especially it would have been cool to see her Sasha versus like a Bianca Belair,
Mm-hmm.
a Mia Yim. I mean, just there could have been so many, you know, because of the fact that they were able to add more of the NXT dynamic to this one. Because you know, you look at, you know, Doc was telling me, he's like, dude, I'm looking at the main roster and they don't have 30 people on the main roster to fill up this women's.
Oh, that was an NXT Royal
Yeah,
Rumble.
you know, so I'm like, okay, that means they're gonna have maybe some surprises and probably fill up like 5 or 6 spots at NXT. Thought it was, you know, a good deal. Again, you got a healthy amount of different people that otherwise probably didn't get to cross paths during like the Survivor Series stuff. So I thought it would, you know, yeah, it would have been good for Sasha, you know.
I didn't count, and I don't have it in front of me. There was probably well over 10 NXT females in that Royal Rumble.
I know there was Tegan Knox was in there, Dakota Kai, Io Shirai,
Belair.
Belair, Shayna. That's already 6.
Did we see Candice LeRae?
Yeah, I think Candice was in there. Maybe it was just maybe 7 or 8. Because I can't think of who else. I mean, I'm glad that none of the like Marina Shafir and freaking Jessamine
Right.
spot. Yeah, I can't think of anybody else right now from their division, but I think that may.
How many legends?
Oh, Tony Storm was in their NXT UK.
Tony Storm.
I think that may have been it. But still, like they had a lot of people in there from NXT, like way more than they had in the men's Rumble for sure.
Yeah, I say, you know what? I say we tackle the women's Royal Rumble.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the match I saw after the whole Rumble.
Yeah. So I thought it was really cool, and I was actually gonna go. I was gonna talk to you, like, you know, because like now that we're talking about the women's title on SmackDown, because the one on Raw, even though I'll admit, like, I think it needs to be fresh too. Becky's had the belt since Mania and stuff like that, but I see what they're doing, so I'm okay. I wish it was different, but
yeah, like what I wanted to happen is I wanted Ronda to come back, which can still happen tomorrow. You know, the Monday after, there's always you know, another one of those, you know, big time things as far as setting up for WrestleMania season. But I was thinking it was going to be Ronda. You know, the whole story of Asuka and Becky was Becky coming back to finally settle this last debt. But she kind of has another debt that she owes to Ronda because they were supposed to go one-on-one all the way back to Survivor Series of last year. Didn't happen, or 2 years ago now. Didn't happen because of Nia Jax. So I figured, why not have Ronda come back out, challenge her, finally get that one-on-one at Mania, take the belt off her, give Becky some freaking time off because she needs it. Yeah, I mean, and it's nothing against Becky. It's like what you were saying before. There's a select few that you know can break out, but I think because of who Becky is as her character, it's hard for anyone else to do anything like that because they're just gonna immediately compare her to Becky.
yeah.
You know, so but I think if Becky's gone, it leaves a wider open space for more, you know, risks being taken, more faith being bestowed in those characters, in those risks that they want to take as far as like more character development. But I think because of Becky's still very much a huge, you know, portion of you know, just her being there, it kind of, I mean, they put her on a freaking video game cover, so it's like, how are you gonna, you know what I mean? Unless she could step away and you could finally build some stars without, you know, catering entirely to her. I think her stepping away is not a bad thing. I mean, again, she's been holding the title for like, she was Becky 2 belts and still held on to 1. So she,
and it's not like her feuds have been the best. Like
I mean,
it started off with Lacey.
I enjoyed the Oscar build, but again,
Yeah,
the match kind of fell flat for me. You know?
like well, if we're going into fantasy booking, which what I wish kind of would have happened was, I thought it would actually been really cool for the story if Asuka won today. And even if you really wanted that Becky Charlotte match at Mania, Becky has to win the title back off of Asuka before Mania, but you still have 2 big shows before then. Well, I guess she's not going to Saudi Arabia, but
so are they not going to do Elimination Chamber?
Elimination Chamber is in March, so they're not doing fast.
They moved it, okay, because it used to be in February.
Right.
Okay, I was wondering about that. I was like, dude, are they going to bring the Elimination Chamber to Saudi? I'm like, that's going to be kind of weird.
Right. And so, and then the other thing is, or you do Charlotte versus Asuka too, which I think the
Oh,
fans,
that ain't bad. That
and then
had a
you
really
do Becky versus Shayna, or if Ronda is going to come back, you do Becky versus Ronda. But if you can't get Ronda to come back, you do
yeah,
Shayna.
Shayna for sure. I mean, there's nothing left for Shayna to do on the NXT roster, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's ran through the whole roster. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's
More than once.
yeah, so it's like they're running out of people to put her against. Like they're doing this thing with Shotzi Blackheart, and it's not working. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean want to be mean, but like the match wasn't all that great.
Right.
Um, Even the stuff she was doing, like trying to build more on that on their last like match together, I was like, okay, I get what you're doing, but it's not looking like real to me. You know what I mean?
And I felt like if Shayna won the Rumble, that would have been a way.
Well,
I don't
she
know.
coming out at number 30, so much heat. I mean, she already gets heat, you know what I mean? And people love
Right.
to hate her, so it's like,
I'm
yeah,
thinking like that would have been a way more organic way of moving her to the main roster. She's like,
yeah,
okay,
because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, what a way to come up to get moved up. I mean,
right.
because a lot of people, again, not to jump ahead, but they were like assuming that's how they were gonna like. People were thinking Keith Lee was gonna get moved up and that he would be in the Rumble, but obviously, North American champ, but still got a good look. So, but
Uh,
the women's Royal Rumble match itself, I did enjoy. Like I said, there were just certain people I was like, really like I think what bothered me the most was the Santina thing. Um,
mm,
I had heard, I mean, as you always will, you'll get a bunch of people like, oh, so and so spotted in the area. Oh,
mhm.
this person they had interviewed and quoted Kane Velasquez as saying he was going to be in the Royal Rumble for sure. Glad he didn't show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, someone had said that, oh, Santino's in the area. Maybe he might pop up for Royal Rumble. I'm like, why? Like, that's not some. I mean, like, yeah, it's cool, it's him, but it's not going to get the pop that they think it is. And then the fact that and then someone was even saying like, unless he gets, goes into the women's Rumble as Santina, I'm like, oh, please no. I'm like, because what was
that's
weird
wasting a
about it was
spot. Like,
like dude, by the time the match ended, there was already like transphobia like tweets
mhm.
about it already going like viral, and that's why I thought it was weird that they would have Santino come dressed up as a woman in the temperature and time that we're in right now, and kind of take the place of what's supposed to be a woman. And that's another thing, dude. I hate to go off key, but I know they just presented this whole like, no, we're not doing gender specific championships anymore. Why have a men's and women's Royal Rumble match? That
Yeah,
makes
that makes
just be
sense.
one, right? Like, I mean, that's not what I want, but it just makes no sense that you would name those matches that, and then you don't have the respective championship title. I don't know. It's so weird, but
I'm actually kind of confused on how they're just the way the WWE presents itself, how they're going to actually handle the gender neutral names for the titles.
yeah,
Because to be honest, I don't think it was offensive that there was a women's champion, and maybe in 5 years that could be offensive. But like right now,
yeah,
it's there. We still have divisions, and I still
yeah. And
so
it's not like they're using it as like, oh, it's the men and then it's just the women. Like it's not even like that. It's I mean, even when you look like what's weird about it is the fact that it started with the NXT former women's title now, but when you look at the belts are exactly the same. To
yeah.
me, that's equality. They didn't like make it some stupid butterfly like Shayna's title at the time looked exactly like Adam Cole's title, just a little
Hmm.
bit smaller. You know what I mean? But same exact look. I'm like, that's equal. I don't think it necessarily needs to like, they're both called the NXT Championship. I don't know. I mean, if they were gonna do that, they didn't need to like make it a public announcement about it.
So what do you think led to this? Because I personally think what impacted kind of maybe led to there's a
I don't know
division on here.
because what's interesting is that Tuesday before that like announcement went out, like Becky was on backstage, and
Hmm.
she had just she was just talking about how one day in wrestling, and this is obviously not verbatim, but like I would like to, where it's like, we don't have to say, oh, it's a women's match, or like it's just a match, or,
Hmm.
we don't have to be like, oh, this is like she was talking more about how people often, oh, okay, women's
Women
match.
can't main event and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, and, she was like, oh, it'd be nice, like, where it's just called wrestling, you know what I mean, not women wrestlers. I'm like, okay, that's, so because even then, like they made the announcement after she had said that, and then she had then since came out afterwards and said, "This is not what I was talking about. I don't even have that kind of power. This is not what I was saying at all. This is what I meant." So I don't know what aim that WWE was really trying to take. My buddy Mark McFly called this a lateral move more than a progressive move. I mean, which they do a lot, man. It's like they hype up this women's division only to take away the word.
Right, that's true.
And it's like the revolution. Is it just the revolution? Like I was like, so is Kairi Sane and Asuka just the tag team champions now? How does that work?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
So
it's still like if you're not gonna have men challenging for just a certain belt or women challenging for a certain belt, and you're still gonna have the divisions there, then taking hands off of them is not gonna change anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the terminology is not so much a big deal. I think it's just the idea that, I mean, because once the news hit, everybody was like, so I guess the women could go fight the 205 guys.
Which was like, we knew it was not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's coming up with these freaking stupid ideas where I'm like, dude, that's not going to happen. But I get what you're trying to say. I mean, Impact, that could be another reason. I just don't see them doing anything on behalf of what someone else is doing, because I don't think they believe in intergender wrestling, to be honest. Like, I mean, even
I don't think they do either.
They've interviewed Charlotte a number of times, and she just pretty much says, I don't think there's no room. Not that there's no room for it, but there's not really a need for it in WWE. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I mean, like if it's someone, I guess, like maybe a Nia Jax, like they did with like, they were teasing with Ambrose or Moxley. It's like, okay, like she's a bigger frame where it kind of brings like a more modern version of that sideshow, like Andy Kaufman type of thing, where it's like Andy Kaufman versus these two big Amazonian women. Like, oh, can he make it out alive? Well,
and
but,
like not to bring up like a sore spot in history, but like China was built a little differently than the other women at the time. So so like, yeah,
yeah, and she was fighting Eddie for the IC title and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think it can be done. Like it could be done where it's appropriate or acceptable. Like I just went to a bar wrestling event on Friday, and they had a mixed tag match. Taya Valkyrie and Joey Ryan. I can't remember who they went against, but Taya Valkyrie, she was wrestling the guys. But one thing I give her credit for is she didn't make it look fake. Like she wasn't doing like power bombs on guys and stuff. And like, she picked her spots smart where it was like, okay, yeah, I can see that happening. So I think if it's done in a kind of a more legitimate mindset, yeah, it can happen. But at the same time, WWE is not going to risk anything like
Lucha Underground was really good at making it look somewhat believable.
Yeah, dude, like that actually was like a shock like factor for me. I remember first tuning in and it was like Sexy Star was in there and she was getting her freaking face kicked off by Sammy, or he was Solomon Crow then, but
yeah,
I was like, wait a minute, they're just fighting like it's no. And I'm like, dude, these girls are taking bumps and they're giving bumps too. So yeah, Lucha they had a really great way of doing it, of showcasing it. Where I'm like, okay, some stuff, yeah, you got to suspend your imagination, but other things like it just kind of looked real. Like my biggest thing is like, no shade on this guy, and it's not WWE, but like Marco Stunt from AEW, like. I don't hate the guy, but
he's not believable, right? That's my deal. He's not believable.
And that's my problem. When you go, like I saw him against what's his name, Evil Uno. They had a tag match against the Dark Order, and then he's like, I'm supposed to believe that he can run up and take him down with an arm drag, and it was legit an arm drag, and I'm like, come on, dude. Right? Like, no.
That's my thing too. Like, I'll be watching AEW. And I'll be like, there'll be Marco Stunt. I'm like, yeah, I kind of think it's cool. I can see why the fans get into it.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, it should be Luchasaurus hitting the big moves, and then Marco Stunt maybe hitting like a frog splash or something.
Yeah, for the win type thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, and it's again, no hate on him. Like people, they do cheer for him, but it's just one of those things.
And I'll bring this up because I don't know if we're ever gonna maybe we'll break down Revolution when it comes up, and we'll be able to talk more about AEW then.
Oh, we can do that. I'll actually be there.
Oh, sweet! You're gonna be in Chicago?
Cross, dude. I'm kind of nervous because I'm going through LAX, so I'm up there. It's gonna be all cleared up by then, man. But yeah.
So they another thing is in kayfabe, Jurassic Express always loses. And I always think, like, Well, don't you see that Marco Stunt is holding you guys back?
You know, it was I always said that like before Lucha and Jungle Boy were able to get like their bearings and just be established as them two, because that's what they were doing in the Indies. They just kind of threw Marco in there, and I'm like, well, not right away. Maybe, you know, they're still getting introduced to, you know, everyone else. Like people in SoCal, they're familiar with the act, but if, you know, worldwide, I'm like, dude, let them cook for a little bit before, you know, you add another chef in there. So, but,
Marco Stunt would actually perfectly fit like the Selena Vega role for that tag team, hitting a random move and
oh
the
yeah,
ref's not looking. I know it's a heel tactic,
no, but yeah, I can
but
see him jumping instead of doing the tranquilo. He's jumping and doing on the apron, doing the floss. You know what I mean?
right, and and then as like maybe like a heel move, or someone's like, hey, we're gonna challenge all three of you guys. So it actually, the story behind the match is that Marco's actually handicapping his team,
Yeah,
and
it's like
then
more like two
eventually
and
they
a half
win.
versus
You know,
three. Yeah.
it's just like, but now they're a 6-man tag team act, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like it should
Yeah.
just be.
I don't get what Marco's tie-in is. Like, you know, with
Yeah.
Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Oh, Boy and his dinosaur. Cool, okay. But at the same time, I remember when they first came out with Boy and Dinosaur, they were like showing like old photos of them training together. So you're like, okay, there's a history there. I'm interested to know what their connection is. And then
Mhm.
Marco Stunt just gets thrown in, and I'm like, I don't know
Right.
why, but all right, cool.
So getting back to the women's rumble, which I was
Yeah.
gonna bring up to tie into the Bailey thing, is I'm not gonna lie, like one of my least favorite things is to watch some Mandy Rose matches. But this whole Otis storyline has been so good that I actually
Otis has
think
been doing really well.
this
Yeah, I
Mandy
was surprised.
Rose feud for the title with the Smoke and Mirrors with Sonya Deville and Otis and Tucker, and the
Oh yeah.
Smoke and Mirrors with maybe Sasha. That could be at least a decent storyline to get us to like at least Elimination Chamber.
And it definitely would do good for people like Sonya and you know, obviously Manny doesn't need any. I mean, she's already popular, but like, you know, you got Sonya pleading to be put in the storyline, and then you got she's being told no only for Liv and freaking Lana to do what she was pitching.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not bad at all, dude. I mean, I was trying to think of like who else was in it, because like I wanted to see a few more like dream or like kind of epic moments in there. Like I was hoping that I mean, it was cool seeing Bianca in there with Charlotte, but I kind of wanted to see them go one-on-one more. Just they both have like outstanding athleticism in different fields, so I was like thinking that would have been cool.
Quick question: do you think Bianca gets called up because she's gonna
I
have
think
she's
so,
gonna
but
have to Ripley?
I don't think right away, because I know she just won that battle royal and she's supposed to be fighting in Portland.
Yeah,
State of
and
Portland.
she's gonna lose.
Yeah,
And she's
I mean,
already
it's
lost.
a shame that she would. I mean, because I've been saying that she's been ready for that. I mean, I thought she was going to take it off Shayna the second time
Mm-hmm.
that they met, but the fact that they gave it to what's her name, Ripley first, I was like, man, you guys let her win both women's titles. I was like, I mean, not hating on Ripley, but I was just like, all right, I get it, you know what I mean?
I
But
think I
yeah,
think I think Ripley should have won it a lot sooner,
I
and
agree.
then you could have had her lose in Portland. But the thing is, she just won it.
Yeah, it was weird because like she was chasing it, and then they had her stuck in that whole what was the
War Games.
war games? Yeah, we always say with the Regal war games. Like yeah, so it's like it was almost like, oh yeah, well we just put this on hold and we'll just worry about winning this match. I'm like, no, it should have been like whichever team wins gets like put in the triple threat for the number one contendership or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, right? Or whatever it was. But yeah, I would think that she's close. I mean, I think the smart thing to do would be pair her with Street Profits, even though I don't like what they're doing with Street Profits.
I don't either.
I do remember the first NXT on USA. They were showing footage of people arriving to the arena, and it showed the Street Profits in street clothes with Bianca with them. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that. And then there's times if people actually look pretty clearly, Bianca has came to the ring with a Street Profits chain on,
Mm-hmm.
which I assume is, you know, obviously her husband's, but
She doesn't do the comedy stuff too much though. But
I
I think
guess
if you added the seriousness with the comedy at times, I think
yeah.
it
I
would.
mean, I think the only time she's like what she said that one time, she's like, "I beat you. I already beat you. You don't even go here." I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I like that. You know what I mean? Like my brother, like Doc, he's always, little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like that. I like, you know what I mean? Because it's not
Mm-hmm.
going too over the top. You know how they usually do when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I'm if she's moving up, I'm excited. I just hope that she's not going to get the same treatment as everybody else that's tried to
Right.
move up and all that. So
So
I think she's close. I think she's close. Another, I was gonna say, back to the Rumble. Another person I would have liked to see her get into it with would have been like Beth Phoenix.
mhm.
Even though Beth Phoenix came later. So, yeah, by the way, as soon as Beth came out, I'm like, oh, Edge is here.
Mhm.
Edge is for sure showing up. I'm like that like why would they just have her? And she's already came back once before, but dude, I want to know who busted her open. Did you see that?
Yeah, I didn't see how it happened. I
I
just
didn't see, yeah, out of nowhere, like, I just saw when it was her and Natalia trying to take Charlotte over the corner for elimination. You just see like red in her hair. I'm like, what
mhm.
the hell, dude? And dude, I don't know. She beasted it out. Yeah,
So
she was one of the. I think, yeah, wasn't she the one of the top three at the
yeah,
bottom
which
three?
is
Yeah.
so this is something I was actually going to talk about, which I was like, no, I don't think this is a hot take, but I don't think the NXT commentators need her. And I was,
No,
you know
I'm
what?
not trying to. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a dick, but she really doesn't really add a whole lot.
So I
Um,
was thinking like start a feud with her and an NXT person in this,
yeah.
and then they could have a feud on NXT, and it could be Beth Phoenix behind the commentator desk, and then someone's like, "Hey, I'm pissed that you threw me out," or blah
Oh,
blah
that's true.
blah, and then
Yeah,
you slowly take Beth off the commentator, kind of like what they did with Samoa Joe and the Seth Rollins thing.
yeah. The only time it didn't work really good was when they tried to do it with Alex Riley.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. And then I was excited, dude. I ain't gonna lie. I was like one of the very few like Riley fans when I was like, oh, is he gonna come back? Because I was
Dude,
like,
I was one of those people who was like, oh, they're building Alex Riley to be the next guy. When
yeah,
they
yeah,
were having the Miz
yeah,
John Cena, this is like 8 years ago.
dude. Yeah, I didn't. I know that. I got to get into the interview. I know Chris Van Vliet finally interviewed him, and he finally spilled the beans on the John Cena thing,
Hmm.
which he's been like, super secretive about. But I mean, it's funny because one of the rumbles I was watching the other day, I think it was the 2011 one, and he accidentally got eliminated in that one where it was like Kofi and Cena that were like
Hmm.
same spot as Beth and Natalia. They had like Charlotte in the corner, so they had like A-Rod in the corner, and then he was just supposed to slide off and land on the apron, and he slipped all the way out, and it was a big deal because he was supposed to stay in the Rumble and he was supposed to be the guy to throw out Cena.
Oh,
But what's funny is as soon as his number's called, he runs into the ring. Cena stops who he's beating on and just runs up and just clobbers him with it's a shoot ass clothesline, bro.
oh,
I was
really?
like, okay, there's something going on for sure. Like
Hmm.
it even made me think like I think he eliminated him on purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just like because you see the ref, like he has to take a knee and you see the ref talking to him the entire time. I'm like, okay, they're redoing the match right now. I'm like, this is weird.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I think that's a great idea for Beth Phoenix though to get back to things like because it's interesting to me like if they just reported Edge signed a three year deal, which I was pretty shocked about.
I did not see that. I thought this was gonna be like,
I
uh,
thought it was just this and Rumble and Mania and
I was even thinking it
right
might
off
just
the
be this, but when he started lasting to the final three, I was like, all right,
that
maybe there's
surprised
a
me a
media
lot.
thing here.
And I didn't know if maybe that was it was weird because AJ got hurt. I don't know if you could tell, but
Hmm.
it looked like he got thrown out earlier than needed because he needed to get out the match.
Right.
Because it was weird that he got thrown out, but like Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows came out later, which I can only assume that maybe those three were supposed to stay in and do something with Randy.
Well, I think if AJ's still hurt, they could probably do. If this depends on how much they're going to use Edge, because they might just be like
True.
he's going to be off TV and then he'll maybe come back in March or whatever. But if he's going to be on TV, they could do rated RKO versus OC at like Elimination Chamber or Saudi Arabia or whatever.
Actually, now I think, dude, they could even team up. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how if Randy. Well, they would have to be face. There's no way Edge would
Mm.
be. He could
And
cheer.
Randy would have to be okay that Edge threw him out, but they
Yeah,
could.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is like rated RKO with Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe taking on like Seth and the rest of the disciples. That way, it's not like a huge workload for Edge.
Mm.
Trying to come back. I mean, as we're talking dream matchups in fantasy book, and I actually pitched. I was like, how cool would it be if Edge came back? Because obviously the story with him and Seth Rollins is kind of built in, where a couple years ago he was like, I'm gonna break this guy's neck.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and then they've gone back and forth on Twitter a few times. But say like if Edge came back for like a Seth feud, but then it ended up being like Seth and his disciples, and he's like, all right, I'm a I'm gonna get some guys to sweeten the deal. So then he comes back with Christian and the Hardy Boys.
That'd be cool.
I'm like, that'd be dope. I mean, like, you know, they're all
Well,
still
I was
technically
thinking about it because one of the things that's holding back one of those dream match scenarios is I was like, you know what? Christian's had a ton of concussions. He's probably not coming back, but maybe he can now for at least one match.
I was, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But but there was that weird crossover, like the Dudleys came back and then they were off TV, and then the Hardys came back and then they're like dealing with some legal stuff. Well, and I was like, well, if they could all get confirmed, it would be really cool. Just for like, it would probably be in Saudi Arabia. One more like half-ass TLC match.
I mean, it's a 20th anniversary, right, or something like that.
Right? Yeah.
Earlier, so I'm like, I mean, or if they want to maybe put two different, maybe just the Hardys and just Edge and Christian, because obviously Bully Ray's with freaking Ring of Honor, even though Devon's still there as a producer.
I was thinking maybe they could like get like Bubba for one like a one-day deal.
Dude, it wouldn't be the first. They did it with Jushin Liger. You know what? Shit, now that I think about it, they're supposed to be teasing some huge epic announcement on Wednesday. That's whoever's supposed to be Adam Cole's new number one contender for TakeOver Portland. So I mean they've done a lot of different things where it's like, this guy doesn't work here, but we're gonna bring him in. Like, I mean, dude, they just did that with Alex Shelley. They had everyone excited for that just so he could lose. I'm like,
which is weird because you would think the Broserweights would have lost, and then Alex Shelley and Kushida would have got moved.
I mean, the real tag team versus the team that just got together. Yeah, I mean, I will say that the Broserweights promo style is pretty hilarious and entertaining. But yeah, I definitely was thinking the same thing.
Do you have any thoughts, real quick, on the Fiend and Daniel Bryan before we move forward? I really don't have any. I think there's this.
No, I mean, that one was kind of underwhelming too, and I didn't realize that was my thing. I didn't know it was a leather strap match. But it wasn't like a classic. You know, they didn't do the four corners and nothing like that. Yeah, I wasn't against it necessarily. I just, again, haven't been invested in SmackDown enough to know why it had to go to a strap match.
It was more so because the Fiend kept on coming in and out of the ring and running away in a way.
Oh, okay.
And Bryan got upset, so he's like, why don't we have a strap match? Because Daniel Bryan, during the feud, I guess, give and take, kind of was like catching the Fiend off guard a lot, and then the Fiend would kind of like go away.
Okay. So he would just like, instead of being able to stay and fight for him to try to like take him out, he would just like disappear. I see. He's like, all you ever do is turn the lights out and then you're gone. It's like, that way you won't be able to disappear.
The thing is, like, Roman didn't win the Rumble, but it looks like it could, I don't know, maybe Roman's the next person for Fiend. I think maybe they'll do Kane at Saudi Arabia. I don't know if that was the
I've been hearing about that. I've been hearing an Inferno match.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
But this is what's crazy about that is like, they did the Ring of Fire match back in SummerSlam 2016. That was like Bray's debut pay-per-view against Kane. This is different because like Kane is like a mayor now, which, you know, local government official, but it's like, dude, you're not gonna burn a guy alive in Saudi Arabia. Like, there's so many levels of no to that, you know.
Well, they also brought in Bray Wyatt last time. Also brought in his decapitated head.
Oh,
so that's a little weird. And women wrestling.
It's a lot of. I mean, it's not as like they wouldn't be able to get away with as much.
It's hot take. I'm going to throw a hot take out there. I know this is this might come off wrong, and I'm just going to throw it out there. If you couldn't do the women's match properly, then they should have never done it at all.
At Saudi Arabia? No, I agree. I mean, I understand why they were trying to push for it. I mean, it's more, again, it's another one of those progressive moves that just make them look good, like they're sticking up for them. But it's like, I feel you, but you guys are kind of like still conforming to their terms of doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's more, I mean, I'm not against a compromise, but yeah, if it's going to affect how the match is going to go, then it's almost like, why do you even do it at all? You know?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure that they're not, you know, too bummed that they don't have to make that 17-hour flight out there anyway. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Those Saudi shows, it's just, it's bothersome to me because it's just like, I feel like everyone something happens at everyone. It's like a curse. Like,
Mhm.
it obviously, rocking his shirt here. I don't know if you can see. I got a Shawn Michaels shirt on. Shout out to Lex. Watching him eat shit from Kane not catching him on that moonsault, that broke my heart, dude. I was like,
Mhm.
and I think it was that like spot where he's like, yeah, I'm not wrestling. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, like, because if the match went well, he probably would be like, all right.
I'm starting to get a little itch back. Maybe we'll see what's up. But yeah,
You put him against two guys who are not moving as fast. Triple H, like, tore his pec.
Like right at the beginning of the match, I was like, and it was weird because I was like, man, he's literally like Irish whipping him with one arm, like 1.5 arms.
Because I'm sure they were like, hey, Shawn Michaels, just chill, sit back, take a hot tag, and then maybe hit some super kicks, some sweet chin music, and
like the guy who would probably arguably like be the ring general was out of commission. It was like,
yeah,
shit, what did he do? The guy that's most active and most in shape is out of here. Like they had to put him through a table to get him out the match. I was like, this is fucked. Like I don't know, man. It's I don't look forward to him anymore because obviously it's just a cash grab.
I don't either. If
they also are able to get a few people out there, for the right kind of amount of money. So I mean, it's hard. It's like I think what the Goldberg Undertaker ones, that was the one that kind of did it for me. I'm like, dude, you guys need to stop.
That was bad, and that was extremely. Like, I hope that's why they're moving it to February, because it was extremely hot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That might. Yeah, because I mean, and not to mention it's already a long ass walk down there too.
Right, and you're in leather.
Dude. And then like even Goldberg is like he smashes his head in, he's bleeding, but then he's also like in blazing heat. I'm like, dude, you're probably gonna like faint. Like maybe you shouldn't do that. And then, I mean, what they say it was like almost like 120 degrees out there, like the entire time they were there. They were like, it was insane, dude. It was
like that should have been a 3-minute match.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know who would have went over in that 3 minutes, but they definitely needed to take care of those guys.
And like, if you really felt like you couldn't hit a tombstone, don't hit the tombstone. Like, you could easily win that match with a choke.
No, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that tombstone, I'm like, that's a receipt for that jackhammer brainbuster. I was like, I'm like, I've seen him do this move 1,000 times, and he's never dropped someone on the crown of their head like that. I'm like, dude,
he was frustrated.
Yeah, he's like, let's just fucking go.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on the pay-per-view or the Rumble? Anything on the men's Rumble match? I really thought Seth Rollins coming out with the Disciples was really cool.
Yeah, I that was like it kind of reminded, like the whole thing with Brock, being first. It kind of reminded me of how they were trying to do it with Roman versus one versus all and all that stuff. Except what bothered me was the fact that Paul Heyman was out there holding the title and it's not for the title. And then like even at one point like Brock is like grabbing the title and like walking around with the title in the ring. I'm like, but it's not for the title.
I was getting really concerned that they threw Brock out and then Kane was gonna come out after and win the Rumble.
Yeah, like, it would have been so what's the point? Like just to defer them actually meeting up just so that he's gonna look better than most of these guys that he he has a little bit of wrestling background, but it's like, no, dude, you're not gonna tell me that you're gonna throw out Randy Orton and all these other guys.
If it's going to be Drew versus Brock at Mania, they did a really good job building.
Yeah, they did. Especially the fact that he took forever to leave. Like I thought that was good. And okay, one of the things that I don't know who was the agent for this match, but one of the smarter things for me that I loved is the fact that you had Brock get the proper amount of heat, and if you look, he threw out half the match, and then Drew came in at 16 and then knocked him out. So now the other last 15, Brock's not even there. You know what I mean? And then
the only thing I would have changed was, how Ricochet hit the low blow?
Oh, yeah.
That should have been Kofi.
Well, yeah, I agree. With the Ricochet thing, it was just like, okay, who remembers that he got kicked in the nuts by Brock like the week before?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I'm not saying that's kind of a shitty spot for Kofi, but I did feel like this was the perfect place for Kofi to kind of get some revenge.
Yeah.
But still not, because he might never face Brock again.
I don't think so. I mean, what I love too is that he actually was fine selling for Big E. I was actually surprised about that. The fact that he took the big ending, I was like, wow, okay. Because no lie, dude, everyone else before them, it looked like he was just shooting on people. Because, dude, when you saw John Morrison come in, like they go for a kick at the same time, and he just no-sells the kick and just starts beating his ass and like throws him right out the match. I was like, I don't think that was supposed to happen. Like, that makes no sense. You know, there was a lot
And
of
he
guys.
had it really awkward on his knee.
Yeah, that's what we were saying too. It was like because where I was watching, we had a few local wrestlers there, so they were like, "Oh, that was a bad bump." You know, they were like, "Yo, I already know where he hurt." You know, I'm like, "Yeah, that didn't look too safe at all." Like, I'm like, I don't think Brock gives a shit. I'm like, this is, and then, dude, a lot of Brock's knees. Oh man, it was like that. I thought I was playing like UFC, like the on PS3 back in the day, like freaking dirty boxing. I was like, yo, dude, you really like you're kneeing these fools for real. Like, you need to chill. Like, it's not that big a deal. But I don't know, but
so before we go, if you could book a storyline on the way to WrestleMania and maybe something that comes after, what would it be? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I kind of thought about something. I brought it up like 2 minutes ago, and now I'm kind of thinking of something right now. So
the only thing I could think of is, I mean, I know we were talking about like a low budge like TLC match. I could see maybe something like that, but with another tag team, like maybe the New Day. I'm trying to think because everything I was thinking of didn't come to fruition at Royal Rumble. So I'm trying to think what I could even throw in the paint now. But
I was thinking, because I just brought him up right now, and I was like, it would be an interesting story is maybe at Saudi Arabia or maybe even at Elimination Chamber, you do Kofi versus The Fiend.
Okay.
And then, but Big E is in the Elimination Chamber match for #1 contender for Mania.
Oh, okay.
And Big E wins but Kofi loses to The Fiend, so it's Big E versus The Fiend. But you know how The Fiend changes people? Kofi starts getting kind of jealous and annoyed and loses the power of positivity.
Oh, okay.
And he's kind of annoyed by Big E. Big E, let's just say he goes over and he wins the title. And then you have Kofi, and then Big E's kind of like, hey, just as a brother, I'll hook you up with some title matches. But then the title matches keep getting more and more intense. And it takes Xavier Woods to come back to bring the team back together.
Oh, I could see that. Kind of like there was that time they teased like like turmoil in the Shield, and then like I think who was like Seth had to be the one to like break it up between Roman and Ambrose. That I wouldn't be mad at that.
So honestly, like Kofi doesn't go full heel.
Because I was gonna say, is he going back to the Wildcat or version, or I'm like whenever you go, or the Air Boom version? You know what I mean?
Which I don't know, because I don't know if Big E's the guy to take the title off Fiend.
I don't know. Like, because I think the only like I said, the only other dream scenario I had was possibly like an Undertaker situation where he can get his proper retirement.
I think Cena or Undertaker at Mania would actually be really good.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, the only other one I was thinking, because besides him, I'm like, who, like, because me and my brother were talking about it the other day. I'm like, okay, who beats the Fiend? He's like, because it has to be someone good. And
Roman Reigns probably.
I was thinking the only one that really has that power would be like maybe a Roman Reigns. I mean, and he's on SmackDown, so I mean, I would say someone like possibly like a Drew McIntyre or a Brock, but they're not on the same show. And Brock,
I think you know how so I don't know if you caught this because you say you don't follow SmackDown too much, but I caught this. Daniel Bryan is trying to find the weakness in the Fiend, and what's the rabbit's name? The Rambling Rabbit. Said he's like, hey, I know the weakness to the Fiend, and then the Fiend grabs the rabbit and like kills him.
Oh, okay.
But I've been always looking at this. I think the heel glove is actually the weakness to the Fiend, and I think there'll be eventually a moment where
he's never really healed anyone. He's always hurting people.
And I think eventually he's gonna get to a point where he maybe feels bad for someone he's hurting in the ring. And then he's going to try to help him, and then that person takes advantage and pins the Fiend.
I can see that. Well, would he pin the Fiend or would he pin Bray Wyatt?
See, a lot of people think the Bray Wyatt should lose the title and not the Fiend.
Well, see, I was thinking that even if the Fiend loses, because my brother was like, well, if he loses, then he has to go away. I'm like, well, the Fiend has to go away, but he could still come back as Bray Wyatt. And you know what I mean? Maybe he's like good Bray Wyatt until like, you see little glimpses of the Fiend still stirring around, but and then maybe he finally goes back to defeating over whoever dethroned him for the title or whatever. But yeah, I mean, whoever does it, they have to be. I would love to see somebody else like Roman. Obviously, again, star power. He has the the ability to do it, but I would like to see someone new that can use the rub. You know what I mean? Because I to be honest, I don't think that we'll ever see Bray get the Universal title again after this. I think
I don't think so. You're right.
And I don't know if, I mean, that not to say he won't get the WWE title, but dude, when he did, he was just fed to Orton. You know what I mean? It was like complete bullshit. I mean, I was happy for him that Elimination Chamber, but it didn't do anything for him, The only other thing I could think of as far as something I mean, it's funny because it's based on real, some real life shit is they could have really built Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar. I don't know if you heard about that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
They had gotten into it. I'm like, what is up with you passing?
I actually think that's why Matt Riddle got tossed out so early.
Well, I was thinking that I feel like Matt Riddle got switched with somebody so he wouldn't be in the ring with Brock. Because you notice he showed up after Brock was already eliminated. And I mean, like you said, he kind of just got freaking thrown out like nothing. But
is there someone who's pretty major that maybe Morrison? I'm trying to think of because Morrison was kind of in there way too early, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the fact that he just got thrown out for like,
or maybe Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio probably could have been in on that tail end and started dealing with like the Seth
like
Rollins.
I said, I knew something was up when if you go back and look at the way that AJ got unceremoniously like pretty much eliminated, you can tell like based on the way everyone's looking at him too, and I think you can see the refs trying to talk to him. He's hurt. Like, so I'm wondering if
Edge kind of go like, oh well, because I'm pretty sure Edge was told backstage or something like you're gonna have these spots with AJ Styles and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because they had that face to face.
Yeah, because
then all of a sudden he's out, and you can just see Edge kind of like.
Yeah, no, he's like, oh shit. yeah. It looked like it was almost like the same look that I don't know if you watched Worlds Collide, but when Bobby Fish kicked Alexander Wolf in the chin, he had that look like, oh shit. Because he's not going after him. The ref is telling him to stay back, and he's just like, oh. I think I really kicked him. Not my bad. Like,
but that's the thing. You watch that and you're like, I could trust everybody in that match could figure it out.
Yeah.
Something about WWE main roster match, you're kind of like, I feel like they were told specific things and now they're all freaking out.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Or like the talking is too obvious, or the refs talking to them is too obvious. Where you're like, okay, someone's yelling the shit out of their ear right now in that earpiece. Right. But you know what? Rumble as a whole, I wasn't mad at it. Let me rephrase. The matches I wasn't mad at. Some of the matches left a little bit to be desired as far as like a complete whole card. But again, people watch this for the matches. Besides, the little notes I had about like the Kellys and the Santinas and stuff like that. That was another thing. MVP was in the freaking Android Rumble. Yeah. That was random.
I thought it was cool, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, but if we're going to have MVP and not have an NXT guy that deserves this spot, I kind of was a little But
I was no lie, I was kind of hoping that Keith Lee would have pounced like Brock over the rope. Something like cool. That would have helped build him. I mean, he would not make him win, but he got Brock in his scope kind of thing.
Right. And what's really cool though. And if NXT wants to win in the ratings, you would have Brock go to Full Sail looking for Keith Lee.
See, I made a joke about that because I was like, they had that stare down. Like it was funny because it was like it was an MVP that came out before him, and then like Keith Lee comes out and he had this look on his face where we were just like laughing about it, like, oh, another big black guy, huh? And then, and then he sees what Keith Lee's made of. He's like, oh. So not just another black guy. Who's this guy, Paul? I don't know. You don't watch the show. I don't watch the show. What's NXT? I don't know.
That's really good.
Well, I mean, but yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, you can even have him like get in the face of Regal. You know what I mean? That'd get people to pop because Regal don't back down to shit. So
yeah, you're bringing up I don't know if you noticed it, but I think you're probably alluding to it. Is the camera even caught Brock look at Paul and go, "Who is this motherfucker?"
Yeah, I did see that. And I was like, "Yep." he don't watch it. He don't.
Yeah.
It reminds me of with
But
that Survivor Series with DX and DX CM Punk and the Hardy Boys, and they knocked out
was it
Chris
Mike Knox?
Masters or somebody.
Mike Knox or
Yeah. He's like, who was that? Who was that guy? And I was like, damn, they're just burying this guy so bad right now.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like that about Brock's character though, that he doesn't watch the product, he just shows up to work.
Shit, dude. Like, yeah, he doesn't give a shit. Like, oh man, yeah. It's I just wish he had better comebacks. Other than what did he say to Ricochet? Not scared. I was like, oh.
Yeah, with the weakest voice.
Yeah, dude. I was like, dude, say. So that's why they call you Ricochet, huh? Like, you bounce off the freaking mat a couple of times or something. I don't know, man. Like, yeah, but I wasn't mad at the Royal Rumble. I would have probably liked a little bit more NXT spots or guest spots. But other than that, yeah, I thought it was pretty solid.
We have a rating scale here at the Awkward Side Hug, and it's called out of 5 side hugs.
Okay.
So out of 5 side hugs, what would you give? And it has to be whole numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. The whole pay-per-view as a whole?
Yeah, I'd say the whole pay-per-view.
I'll probably give it 3 side hugs.
3 side hugs?
I wouldn't give it 4.
I was thinking I would give it 4. I was thoroughly entertained. Both Rumble matches were solid.
Yeah. I think
this is I think the best women's Royal Rumble.
I would definitely agree.
There wasn't any botches. I enjoyed the Brock stuff, even though I thought some stuff could be done differently, but that's just nitpicking.
Yeah.
And Drew McIntyre and Edge and Roman being the final 3 was really dope. The Fiend and Daniel Bryan match was cool, but it was predictable.
Yeah.
Asuka versus Becky was good. The only match I really didn't like was Lacey versus Bayley, and I'll admit I wasn't watching the Roman Baron Corbin match, but from what I've read and heard, people enjoyed it.
Okay, because that was a no DQ match, I think, right?
Falls Count Anywhere.
Oh, okay, Falls Count.
And then the pre-show matches, I'm not going to count those in my rating.
Yeah, I heard the pre-show started at like 2, like
it started at 2, and then I think the back end of the first hour, they did Shorty G versus Sheamus, which is a SmackDown match. I have no idea when that was even on the show.
To be honest, I mean,
should have done Shinsuke versus Braun Strowman or something.
You know, I enjoyed Shinsuke's little back and forth with Brock too. I thought that was pretty cool.
I did too.
I mean, because for those that know, like they face each other in New Japan, like.
Oh yeah, I didn't read the book, but Shinsuke apparently goes into detail a lot about it. About like that was a very emotional match for him because he's like Brock doesn't care, stuff like that, and he's like, I'm gonna have to lose to this guy who doesn't respect what I do for a living.
Yeah, and try to make this match actually something cool. Yeah. If I were to give more than a whole number, I'd probably give it 3.5. But for now, 3 side hugs.
All right, man.
No, but better than Music to Get Murdered By, right?
Yeah, that was a solid.
I saw that great rating. I was like, ooh.
Have you heard the album?
I've only heard Godzilla.
It's just an Eminem album. Like,
you know, I like some of the stuff he says on there. Like some of the, I mean, I'm a fan of the wordplay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I listen to Eminem so much now to be like, oh man, this is album of the year. It's like I think I just, you know, well, what's gonna make me like rewind and flip it a few times? You know,
I think when I
get enough of that.
When I was a real backpacker and stuff like that and hip hop, I probably would have been like, oh man, like the wordplay though, you got to listen to it.
Yeah,
but now I'm like, hey,
crazy, yeah.
I'm like, if I feel like listening to something else when I'm driving home from work, then that says a lot about the album.
I was like worried because when I saw that it was like he had like Juice WRLD on a track, I was like, really? I'm like, all right, I gotta, you know, I wasn't trying to judge, obviously, you know, respect to him and everything, but I was just like, I wouldn't expect M to do a track with someone from this. I mean, you were literally calling out mumble. I mean, he's not a mumble rapper, but he's in that class, you know, of the guy. So I was just like, all right, how's this gonna sound? I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I think I even said that he sounded like somebody else. So I was like, that's what I said. I said, why does he sound like Mac Miller on this track? And I was like, maybe he wanted Mac Miller. So I don't know.
Right.
But now it gets into a whole nother genre.
Hey man, if you ever want to come on the regular Awkward Side Hug, you're welcome.
Yeah, man, I honestly would love to come again, even if it's wrestling, whatever it is you think I can contribute to, dude. I'm down. I got the software now, so
I don't know if you want to do this weekly or you want to do this after every big show, or
We could probably do it after probably after every big show. That's probably more doable for me because if I could do it weekly, I wouldn't know what day. I work Mondays. I work Fridays.
Maybe if there's a big story, I'll hit you up and be like, "Do you want to get on tonight or something?" If you can't, then I'm.
See, that's the thing is like the days that I only work. I don't work too much, but I always work like 3 to 11. So it's like I'm like totally like, and by the time I get home, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go watch 2 hours of.
That's how I feel too. Like today too, I was kind of like, yeah, I actually have to watch this. So
yeah. I need to do some background, figure out why we're here. Yeah, it's one of those things, man. But no, yeah, dude, if you want to try to do this, even on AW stuff too, that'd be great.
Oh
too.
yeah, that'd be cool, man.
It's funny. I tried my best to go to most of the special events that they have. I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to keep that up. Hopefully they'll make it.
I see you though.
Say what?
I see you. I see your Instagram.
Trying, dude. Like it's fun to go, and then I have this little he doesn't know that it's going on. I have a rivalry going on with West Side Gun actually.
Okay.
I'm trying to make sure that I'm we were neck and neck with going to almost every special event, but I didn't see him at Bashford Beach. So I think,
really?
Actually, I think I saw he was at NXT UK. I think, and I was like, man, you crossed the line. Oh, you're AEW. Okay, it's fine. All right, cool. But yeah, man. Anytime I can get some footage for you guys, or most of the time I'm in a B&B, and I get like I have a hotspot, so I'm like, dude, I'll freaking broadcast from the room. However, you guys
that'd be dope, man. And like,
yeah, for sure, dude. No, great, but thanks again for having me on, man. Again, glad we were able to get this going and everything. And now I know how you guys do it, because I was like, man, how do I get on one of them little windows? I was like, I'm like, they got me the fourth window. I don't know how this goes. We'll see what's up, but yeah, definitely excited, man, to get some more work and work together in the future and everything, man.
Absolutely, man. All right, we'll see you guys
for sure, man. You have a good one.